you hear people talking about like your gut is actually your real brain.
Science, like I said earlier, is finally catching up, and even our major scientist Huberman from Stanford is finally saying that years ago gut health was not taken seriously. Infections and parasitic infections is just 1 out of the 5.
Right.
Some people have digestion problem, some people have microbiome problem, others have inflammation problem.
What do you think, like, what are your 2 non-negotiables?
Sleep, exercise, and nutrition. Those 3, and you'll be surprised. They sound so easy, but that's how I begin my dinner. Burnout, I don't sleep. I call sleep a waste of time. I look up at my supervisor, manager, and I was like, I don't want to be her. She doesn't see her children. She looks like shit. She doesn't take care of herself. She competes with men. And that's when I was like, what am I doing here? And then yoga saved my life.
What about alcohol? What are your thoughts on like alcohol boundaries?
Yeah.
And like how many days a week?
Ideally, if you want to stay young without all the expensive biohacking devices, you want to avoid alcohol.
You do testing on patients or in the programs that you teach. Are you looking at hormones as well? Like, are you looking at cortisol levels?
Yes, morning cortisol. Like it's a Dutch test that we use that not only measures cortisol, but also the...
Welcome to Stacked, the show that helps you become your own best asset. Because in case you missed it, you're allowed to have a high vibe and a high net worth. Welcome back to Stacked, the show that helps you become your own best asset. Today, we're going deep on longevity without obsession with Ella Davar, RD, internationally recognized longevity expert, TEDx speaker, and founder of the Gut Brain Method. She is the author of several books, president of the Global Longevity Association. She has led programs at top wellness destinations in Palm Beach, Switzerland, Miami, and the White House, just to name a few. Ella is a trusted media voice across NBC, CBS. Ella's new book, The Foodie Diet, turns food as medicine into a practical, joyful blueprint that you can live with. We'll keep this 101 and realistic, what the gut-brain axis really means and how to use this data without becoming a lab project, and some small levers that move energy, focus, and mood for busy women. I was so excited to meet you because I also have struggled with a lot of diet and gut issues my whole life, and just the connection to the gut and the mind was something that has resonated with me for so long, and I'd never actually met an expert in the space. So I'm excited to continue our conversation here and kind of open it up to the listeners.
Yeah, me too. Let's do it.
Let's do it. So let's talk about kind of your background into becoming registered dietitian, gut brain focus. Like, what initially prompted you to go on that career path?
Oh God, where do I begin? I used to work on Wall Street before I became a dietitian. Can you believe it? Well, as a young immigrant, I landed in New York City, and I was so fascinated with the fast-paced life. And then you look at it and fast-paced life. Oh my God, I'm nervous. And then I was like so excited to be in New York City, and I was like, where do I go to make a living, to be part of this environment? And then eventually, yes, I became a product of that environment. Fast forward 5 years later, I work on Wall Street in wealth management. I walk up and down Park Avenue, and I'm the it person. I'm burnt out. I don't sleep. I call sleep a waste of time. And that's when I was like, what am I doing here? I was the furthest away from my true self, from my really feminine, beautiful, glowing self. I was very masculine. I was wearing all black. I still do, but still, I was very hard on myself. I was trying to be 10 out of 10, like supermodel, super smart, quoting philosophers and managing someone's wealth. And then yoga saved my life. So I started taking yoga classes. Eventually, I became a yoga instructor.
Okay.
I became a health coach. I got obsessed with all things health and wellness. I tried every diet. I was super confused. I was vegan. I was pescatarian, vegetarian. I lost my period when I was on vegan. That's when I was like, wow, this thing is like, it's not easy. I had like so many health issues. Like I was bloated all the time. I had a lot of skin issues. I went to every doctor on Park Avenue, Korean, Russian, American, Jewish. I was like, somebody help. They were giving me all these different tinctures, different creams, different steroids. And that's when I realized food might have an effect. Tried every diet, nothing helped until one day there's a dietitian that changed my life by changing my relationship with food. So what she created, she ran this advanced blood work for food sensitivities and intolerance. And she created this personalized diet approach that it was no longer, this person said that, I read this book, oh, this like influencer doctor says that. The information came from my own body. And I started following that. She gave me that diet, like it was an elimination diet for like 2 to 3 months. I kept that for the rest of my life. And fast forward, I became a dietitian. When I started working as a health coach, I was like, if I want to be competitive in this industry, I need a real degree. So I went to NYU, got my medical degree, became a clinical dietitian, did a medical residency, got my license. And my specialty was like personalized diet approach based on that test, and the other one. So the other story, how I became a gut health expert, that's another story. So when I was already a dietitian, kind of knew it all, I was licensed, I was already seeing patients, I worked at all longevity clinics. And then when I moved to Miami, I started having eczema, and I was in my early 30s. Model looking, glowing, eating all the right things. And then I was like, wait, what? Why am I having eczema? And I had access to all these doctors at, brilliant minds. And one's like that recommending me this detox with activated charcoal. Another one's recommending me something. And then a month later, eczema came back in another spot. That's when I was like, look, it's not from topical. It comes from the inside and it flares up. It was like in my breast, around my belly button, on my wrist, all the sensitive areas. That's when I was like, look, I have to look at the root cause. So I ran the comprehensive stool test for myself, the GI effects, and diagnosed myself with parasites, treated myself with antiparasitic protocol, which is, again, those who are listening, not everyone has parasites, not everyone needs it. That's why I don't talk about it like so wildly. And when you see some of the people trying to tell you, oh, you need it, you probably don't. Depends, it really depends. There's so many different aspects, and parasites just one of them.
I feel like so many people out there saying everyone has parasites, you need to do a parasite cleanse.
Those are the people that don't test people, okay? So they're
trying to sell a product.
And I sell the solution. And that's what I teach people who are watching this. Every time, because there's so much advice that's floating around on social media. Every time you watch it, you have to think, that might be true, but for who? Is this piece of content created for me, right? Because very often it's viral, and it doesn't have to be about you. When people talk about this, like, oh, this device or this thing's like, do I need this, right? And then if you really get into the industry and you realize you're probably not at the part of those statistics that they're talking about. So I'm very careful, and that's what I'm known for. I charge premium for my programs because they are personalized. Not every person is the same. There's 5 different aspects of optimal gut health, and infections and parasitic infections is just 1 out of the 5.
That's so interesting. I love that it's your personal story that prompted your entire career change.
It's always like this. So then now I teach the gut brain method that I've created now certification program, because when I try to scale my business and I try to hire, I realized I have to teach. I didn't learn this in school. I had to learn through my own health struggles. And when I looked around and pay attention to this, and if you want to do your research, look at all those gut health experts. None of them learned it in school. They learned either through challenging patients cases that the surface level advice was not sufficient, that they had to look for root cause, or through their own health or family struggles. This is the only way that, especially if the doctor is open-minded, they would look for more answers.
So I have celiac disease, and when I was figuring out what was wrong with me, I was like 16, 17, and everything I was eating was literally coming out. This is like TMI, but it would come out undigested. And I went to see all of these GI specialists that wanted to put me on a million different pills, and that was it. And they had all these side effects. I'm like a junior in high school. I have like SATs to be studying for, AP exams. And I'm like, I don't want the side effects. I don't want X, Y, and Z. So I ended up at a holistic nutritionist office who did food sensitivity testing, put me on literally same story, elimination diet. And we ultimately figured out that I had celiac disease, which at the time wasn't something you could even test for. I had like all these colonoscopies, all these endoscopies, and there was no results coming back because they did not. Now they have a test for celiac.
They only test for physiology. It's like the organ is healthy.
Long story short, you have to like really take ownership of your own health.
Become the CEO of your health.
You have to.
And that's what I teach. And I always say the best doctor in the room, when I usually talk to the audience, the best doctor in the room is your own doctor. And I serve as someone who like interprets what your body is trying to tell you, to connect your mind with your body. And that's why I'm trying to teach this and bring this to the new generation of healthcare providers, that they have to know these basics and gut health protocols. And very often they're treated with the diagnostics and protocols, but also mindfulness techniques. A lot of flare-ups happen from stress and overstimulation of vagus nerve.
So that's what I wanted to talk to you about next is, so the gut brain connection. You hear people talking about like your gut is actually your real brain.
Yeah.
And then there's like this emotional, the mind body connection there.
Yeah.
The stressors going on in your own life, your own life, but like relationships, work, like let's talk about that one.
Yeah. You know, when you're stressed out and you're in a dangerous situation, the first thing is like the pit in your stomach, the tightness in your body that you feel. And, you know, your intuition comes from your gut. So we kind of know this, right? But science, like I said earlier, is finally catching up. And even our, major scientist, Huberman from Stanford is finally saying that years ago, gut health was not taken seriously in scientific communities. They're like, take it to your health store, conversations. Like nobody wanted to hear this. But now, finally, they are realizing that your gut is your second brain. It has 5 times there's more neurons than your spinal cord, and it's connected to your brain through enteric nervous system, and it communicates to your brain through vagus nerve. And the best way to stimulate your vagus nerve is through breath work, and you can actually tone it up. Like you tone your muscles, you can tone your vagus nerve through deep exhales. This is when I teach my clients the best way to stimulate the digestion is to get out of the fight or flight mode into rest and digest mode is through breath work.
I mean, breath work changed my life. So I'm a big fan of, and this is just like the first modality that was introduced to me that like resonated, was the Wim Hof method. And it first came up in 2020 and I tried it. I tried the app. It didn't really resonate with me. And then last year I started getting back into breathwork. I was working with like a meditation manifestation coach, and he prescribed me to be doing breathwork 3 times a day for 10 minutes. And the prescription was to do a Wim Hof YouTube video available for free, 3 cycles of a hyperventilation and a breath hold. This changed my life more than anything I have ever done, ever. Like I used to have debilitating anxiety. I would get panic attacks. At this point in my life, I was kind of in the midst of, had changed teams in my commercial real estate career. So I was doing a lot of cold calling and like pitching and presenting. And I started getting a lot of anxiety before some of these big meetings. And I would go outside and do breath work. I would do the 10-minute. It completely changed the tone for my day. And now in my practice today, I really try to do this 10-minute breathwork session in the morning before I get out of bed. But I've never heard it spoken about in the context of digestion and diet and nutrition.
The opposite of fight or flight, when your energy goes through your brain and extremities, is the rest and digest mode. So you're not digesting if you're not resting.
No, you're not.
And this is when, because I test for enzymatic sufficiencies in digestion and diagnose people with maldigestion. And that's when I see when people are getting older or when they are under chronic stress, their digestion shuts down. And it doesn't matter how many healthy proteins and fats you're consuming, you might still feel constipated. And this is the first thing that you could fix. And there's 3 different layers, giving enzymes to my patients. Yes, if I diagnose them, of course. But it's almost like giving you crutches and wishing you good luck to one day you'll learn how to run. No, there's different ways. There's bitter herbs and greens, like bitter Swedish bitters that I recommend for supporting natural enzymatic sufficiency, where that's for younger women. But the real lifestyle change, I stopped my TED Talk when I was going over this to lead a breathwork, this 3 deep breaths. In the middle of watch my TED Talk. It's called How to Fall in Love with Food That Loves You Back. That's my definition of healthy eating. It doesn't matter. Most people are learning about these basics. Got to eat this, got to eat that. I'm like, no, you have to find the way that you actually enjoy this lifestyle. It's the only key to sustainability. And if you're still wondering, like, what's the difference between you and that person who's fit and always, glowing, full of energy and eating healthy, it's the habits. It's the habitual behavior. For them, it's not an option what they should be eating, a salad or I don't know, some junk food, right? It's natural for them. They love it. They don't waste energy on like figuring out, should I do the workout or not? They just put on the shoes and they go.
Yeah.
And that's where the habitual behavior becomes key. And it doesn't matter whether it's food
and
or
it's like
exercise.
your emotional relationship with that habit, whether it's like your diet, your food choices, working out. It's like psychologically, if you believe and you convince yourself, you love working out, you love green juice, you love X, Y, and Z, you eventually actually do. And then you start seeing it,
I love it.
in your glow.
Yeah. And it becomes natural to you. And then you become the role model in your community. Everyone's like, I'll have what she's having. I love when that happens. I'm so proud of like my friends. Sometimes clients become friends when they come to their houses. And I'm like, looks like a dietitian lives here. Like, you don't need me in my life. So that's when my programs are like only 2 consultations. My job is for you to start thinking like a dietitian and become your own CEO of your health.
Yeah. So I want to touch on like the business side of things here for a second. So number one, the first thing that you just said that's really interesting to me is that this program is actually only 2 sessions.
Yeah.
Which is,
there's 2 types of sessions. There's a one-on-one, like VIP.
Yeah.
Yes. We do the diagnostics and 2 sessions, but that's me just working with one client.
Yeah.
So I'm only spending 2 hours with them. But then my other program, which is certification program, that's for everyone who wants to learn more comprehensive and wants to help others. I mean, it's for everyone from housewives that wants to help their children or their family, or someone like a health coach or dietitian, or a healthcare provider. So it's a continuing educational credits that we certify and give you a certificate for. And what it does is it helps you to create clarity about nutrition protocols, over 10 different GI protocols, diagnostics, and neuroscience-backed mindfulness techniques that even if you don't practice them, but I truly believe every healthcare provider should know about them, so they tell others how to. You know, it's all about habits. And very often, like, even I just got inspired listening to you about your habit of breathwork. It's like, I should do this more often.
I fall in and out of it.
Yeah. But at least I recommend it to my clients. I recently, like last week, I had a woman with constipation, and that's something that I gave her. It was like acupuncture, breath work, lymphatic massage, and Epsom salt baths. Like, at least I have it in my toolkit to give it to her. Right. And that it's her responsibility, whether she does it once a week or once a day, right? But that's what we're trying to change. And most doctors, they would just give her enzymes, prune juice, and just give her good luck. Wish her good luck. And that's what we're trying to change. That we want to bring this education, because it's not currently taught in school. Yeah. And that's a second program. In the Gut Brain Method, there's a certification program and one-on-one work with me and our team.
Which I think this is really interesting, though, about like you and the way that you run your business. One, I think it speaks to kind of your ethics and integrity of wanting to set your clients up for success. The way you've structured your business is you help your one-on-one clients with this like 2-session program, and then maybe they come back and check in down the road.
Yeah, they retest maybe 6 months or a year later. My high performers like to do that, like to recheck, and then it becomes their new habit. Like once a year, they check their gut health and see what's changing based on the way their eating changes. Yeah, but my thing is, I'm a high performer myself, right? So I try to figure out, like, create clarity for my patients so they know, because like nutrition, sleep, and exercise are fundamentals of longevity lifestyle, right? And how many people still don't have that figured out, right? Some of the most basics, and most of us are rather grab on to the next thing, like the peptides or this, technology that's going to help me. But what I'm trying to create with those 2 sessions for my private clients is to create clarity on those fundamentals, that every woman, my goal is to have so much clarity of like what she should be eating. She needs to have protein, fiber, probiotic, her omega-3s, her antioxidants. So she feeds this powerful organ within her, which is her microbiome gut health, that helps to communicate with hormones, with neurotransmitters, with brains. And that gives her a fundamental feel good, like a healthy body. And with that, she has all the energy to scale her business, to do other things. Right. I'm trying, like, the Foodie Diet, which is all about joy and longevity science, the Utilitarian Diet, which is all the answers and tools on how to figure out the diet that works for you, whatever that health condition that you're struggling with. And so with that, I want every woman to have clarity and feel empowered that she's no longer looking for answers or looking like who's doing what is this influencer saying? What's this doctor saying? You kind of like know what's right for you. And like I said earlier, this information comes from inside out.
Yeah.
And it gives you so much peace and power that almost everyone's like, no longer like what they're saying, like, what? You can't believe you're eating that. You're eating steak. I thought it's like a bad cholesterol. Suddenly you're like, well, more hormones are thriving on those. And it doesn't matter what you say. I do what's right for me in my body. And you should do the same. And it does. That energy, that presence and body presence, it does affect other people. Suddenly everyone's like, I'll have what she's having.
Right.
I'll do you know, instead of feeling confused and frazzled and constantly like, I can't believe you're eating this. Like these conversations need to stop. Everyone needs to figure out in our 20s or it's okay to be confused in our 20s, but in your 30s, that's not how you want to allocate your energy. You don't want to be frazzled. You want to figure out all your fundamentals, right? Figure out the best workouts for you, strength training a couple of days a week, stretching, lymphatic drainage massage, all these feel-good moments. I also like to schedule them for my clients. And then with that, yes, figure out other stuff. And that's why, you know, I'm the same way. I figured out my nutrition. Now, you know, I'm scaling other business. I'm building professional associations and helping other providers to shine on global stages. That's what, you know, sets me on fire to really create the difference in the lives of others. And not just in my patients, but also my colleagues.
Yeah. No, and I think like from, you know, we talk a lot about like business and entrepreneurship on this show as well. And I think it's interesting that like, of course, your career started wanting to help people on a one-to-one basis. And that is still part of your practice. But you've been able to also develop a couple different revenue streams for your business that is actually like, one, it's like evergreen content. It's generating recurring revenue in a certain capacity, but it's also empowering so many more people, hundreds, thousands of people to teach what you've learned on a national and global scale in a couple of different ways. And so that's the gut brain method, the course.
Yes, it's a certification program. It's only 9 weeks long. You get all the protocols there. You get a lot of video lessons, and there's lectures from other esteemed researchers and lecturers, not just me. And you get to do the diagnostics for yourself, depending where you live in the world. But we encourage everyone before they start testing others to do it for themselves and their family. And we support your journey. We also support like you if you're struggling with another patient and you don't know how to interpret those results. That's one. The gut brain method, which is now the certification program. Also my books. I wrote 5 books that are physical, and then there's a lot of ebooks to specific different conditions like candida and parasites. Candida one is my actually like top seller.
That's your top seller.
But it's an ebook. It's something that can download.
Where is that? It's a downloadable on your website?
Gutbrandmethod.com. Yeah, everything's there. We also have membership for those who are looking just ongoing support on a monthly basis. Like we have like twice a week meetings with me every Wednesday at 5:00. And my other is global longevity. Yes, I'm really passionate about these high-profile events and supporting doctors and them because, you know, I've developed my media personality. I love working in media and just like spreading my knowledge and supporting others. Like these events that I do, I realized if I really want to create a bigger impact, people don't need another lecture. They don't need another panel or conference. They want these live experiences. And my passion for food, you know, someone recently asked me, like, if money didn't matter, what would you do? And I said, I would continue. Like I would do exactly what I'm doing. I would host people. I love hosting. I love cooking for people.
Tell us about like, what are these longevity dinners?
Yeah. So my passion, I've always acted like this, you know, big personality. I would always invite people to my house and cook for them. It brings me the biggest joy seeing that people are enjoying, because I cook all of my meals myself. My first book, Cooking for High Performers, it's basically the recipes that I used to give to my clients, because I've never ordered takeouts living in New York City.
Never?
No, I don't. Like, you know, even when friends would come over, they're like, what's wrong? Like, you do that. I don't even have apps, because I hated all those food. Like the takeouts.
That's really impressive.
I'm very impressed with like for me, food is art. part. If I'm going out, it has to be special. It has to be but like plastic containers that come to my house and it doesn't look good. It's like, no, I'd rather make something myself. I make everything from scratch. But if it would be something elaborate, I would be in the kitchen all day. And I had a full-time job and I hustled like all these things on the side that I've built by now. So what I do is my recipes never take more than 20 minutes. Now, I mean, I do have excellent knife skills. That was part of the NYU training on the food science lab. Yes, we studied all foods and we, the way it needs to be treated and prepped. And that was part of the exam, actually.
Oh, wow.
Chef's knives, skill.
The chef knives.
Yeah.
That is like such a skill. I wish I had that skill.
It's a great skill to have for like chopping is my, comfort zone. And so, I do make all my meals. And so when I started, when I actually transitioned fully to telehealth and I gave up my office in Miami, the best way for me was to connect with people outside of like my telehealth. And I was also stepping into this leadership role. I was like, this longevity, I was sensing the trends. I was like, this longevity industry is the next thing. Yes. I was like, how do I bring people from other industries like real estate, finance, investments, medical doctors and influencers and media personalities? How do I bring all of them on the same table? That was my very first event in Miami when I just like on LinkedIn, I invited all the most interesting people in Miami and they all came to my event. And it's just, like God really wanted me to do it. Just came together beautifully. Like my sponsor reached out for my first event. I had zero expenses. I mean, I didn't earn anything, or maybe I did. I forget. I don't like not earning. And then that was my first. And then it just became a global phenomenon. I did so many events in Europe, all over Switzerland and London. And then people started flying me in to host these events for other brands, for communities. And that's how I ended up at the White House. And now we're doing, crazy things with that. And I love it because now, I mean, I don't cook anymore, but I get to work with the chefs. They get to work together on the menu, and I put science in the menu. You should attend one of my events.
I definitely want.
It's a learning opportunities. People are taking menus home because not only that it's curated by a dietitian, I put all the science on the menu. Instead of reading another nutrition book, you just come to my events, and it's everything about like some of the most important antioxidants and nutrients. It's right there and how it affects. And suddenly you look at food differently, especially a lot of those older people. And I make all this make them eat sauerkraut and olives, and they're like, I don't usually eat this. Like my last event, so many people are like, I don't usually like salmon, but I decided instead of walking out hungry, I'll give it a go, a try. And they loved it. At least 3 people said that from my last event. Like, whatever this is awesome. Plus they read the science, connected their mind and body. It's no longer like, I don't eat that ever since I'm a teenager. Now you're an adult and you shouldn't be eating as a teenager. And then you read all the science and you see everyone's eating around you and sharing all these amazing stories. Next thing you know, you'll have salmon. And for me, that's a success. Yeah. No, I get to change people's lives by changing what's on their plate.
I definitely have to come to one of these. I'm the same way. Not the same way as your attendees, but the same as you. If I understand the benefit of something, I can get behind it, or at least give it a try because I'm curious and I'm I want to look good. I want to feel good. I want to be more
especially
energized.
When you get older, you realize when we're young, we can get away with just
eating whatever you want.
As a secondary priority. But later, it's as you hit 40s, you're almost look, it's my responsibility. And it's not just, older generation used to say, you get older, you get sick, it's fine. Your metabolism slows down.
Right.
Inherently, and that's what I used to now say, when you take care of things, they last.
Yeah.
It doesn't have to be
I think that's a good segue into talking about longevity and of course, food and diet is so important to when we think about longevity. But what do you think, what are your 2 non-negotiables? And it doesn't necessarily have to be related to food. I mean, of course it can be since that's your area of expertise. Yeah. But what are your non-negotiables from a longevity perspective on a daily basis?
Sleep, exercise, and nutrition. Those 3, and you'll be surprised. They sound so easy, but that's how I begin my dinners. I was raise your hand if you're still struggling with those 2 and you could do better. Yeah. And I raise my own hand. I need to be exercising regularly. My sleep is, I'm a sleep queen. My Oura scores through, if I don't get a crown, that's a bad sleep.
Yeah. How many hours do you need?
I never set an alarm.
Okay.
I only wake up when my body's fully rested. And usually it's at the sunrise. So I usually sleep minimum of 7.5. Yeah. My body wakes up naturally.
What's your bedtime?
Around like 10.
10, yeah.
10, yeah.
I need like 8 hours to feel like a human. And when my sleep
You know, it's a cycle. It's either 7.5 or 9. It's every 90 minutes. Somewhere in between.
Interesting. Yeah. I'm not my best self if my sleep is not consistent.
And for women, it's your best facial. When you wake up after a good night's sleep, especially good night's sleep is only when you get to bed earlier. That's when you get all the deep sleep. You wake up feeling glowing. I wake up feeling accomplished. It's the best facial. No other creams can do this job. And it's the best way to detoxify. Your brain gets to reset. The growth hormone gets to be released after only at least 3 hours of deep sleep. So most of us not getting it, especially as we get older. So I love taking care of my sleep. So that's a non-negotiable, especially for women. The nutrition, when you have it all figured out, like antioxidants really love you back, and when you're eating the right way, because, and you noticing the difference. Like every time I come back from Europe, I crave green salads because nobody eats salads in Europe, not in the same amount we do here. And I do feel different.
Yeah.
And you notice how like the way we're treating ourselves and the way we put inside of ourselves does create difference in the way we feel.
Yeah, 100%. What are your like favorite antioxidants right now?
Number one, green leafy vegetables. Sulforaphane is your number one. That's what athletes and biohackers are taking with supplements. I teach my clients at least once a day. Ideally twice a day, green leafy vegetables. Your liver loves them. Your microbiome loves them. And the darker, the better. The darker the color. Number two, antioxidants, rich berries. Not just fruits and vegetables. They're great, but berries, they have all those seeds that help to feed your microbiome. And berries also happen to be less in sugar. Eat berries like it's your job. For dessert, ask them at restaurants. My favorite hack, you never see them on the menu, but you look the waiter in the eyes and you ask him for a bowl of berries. He'll be like, and then you smile and then you get it.
Oh, I love that. I'm going to try that next time I'm out to dinner.
That's my go-to. And then you have some herbal tea with that. Eat berries for breakfast or for snack. It's not just for breakfast, like sprinkle them for your salad. All types of berries. So antioxidants are responsible for the bright, deep colors, right? And if the darker the color, the better. Or the way I say, if it has the potential to stain your clothes, that's the one you should go for. Things like pomegranates, cherries. Which one do you think has more antioxidants, them or strawberries?
Cherries.
Exactly, because they're darker and they're brighter, yes. And then the same way for kale or lettuce. Which one do you think?
I'm like a kale queen. I love lentil kale.
Same.
It's my favorite.
And then like once a week, sometimes I think I make sure to load up on plant-based proteins. Love them because
What's your favorite plant-based protein?
All of them. Like I like my black beans, black lentils. The darker they are, the more antioxidants. Okay. And then all types of lentils and beans. I love my butter beans, chickpeas. I make my own hummus. It's like my viral recipe because it's actually so easy to make your own hummus. And all the, like I make all this chimichurri sauces with all these like bunches of greens, dill, cilantro helps you detoxify heavy metals. So those fundamentals, that's what supermodels are using. And that's what we get to see the supermodels in their 40s looking like incredible. And that's what we want to be doing. And you want this to become your go-to, your lifestyle. So you don't overthink that. You try it once and that's the difference. That's why I used to do so many, cooking shows. It's the difference between you and the supermodel because she's done it once or twice and you haven't done it and tried once and then it becomes your go-to recipe and then everyone asks you, how do you do it? How do you make that?
Yeah. I was just watching a video about J-Lo and her diet and her routine. And she's incredibly strict about her sleep, her workout.
She's 55 and she's doing all the intense
like she's 35
performances. And we can do it too if we treat ourselves as celebrities.
It all boils down to, I read that she spends over $1 million a year on her wellness. So like diet, fitness, and then also things like...
It doesn't have to be that expensive, but like supplements, I do supplement a lot. And it is expensive. But it's worth it.
So let's talk about kind of like modern, and we touched on it a little bit, but how do you combine like modern diagnostics and ancient practices? So like meaning like, all of these tests and elimination diets and whatnot with like the breathwork, yoga without letting your whole life become a spreadsheet?
Oh my God, great question. So I'm a big believer in biowearable technology and diagnostics, to use them as tools to create more clarity. So many of us are out in our heads and our egos, and we're out there with overflooded with all this information. Like I said, this documentary, this doctor says, this influencer says. And to calm this down, when clients end up in my office, I don't want them to suddenly change their life just because Ella said so. It's another, then like the next we hear someone else is going to say something different and you're going to follow that. For me, the only sustainable result that you're going to create is that you start listening to your own body. And the way to create it, I use those diagnostics and tools. It's actually easier like when you work with someone. When you do it on your own, it's like half of it doesn't make sense. Half of it, you're like, I don't know what that means. And then it just becomes a waste, like you said, a spreadsheet. When you work with someone, you prioritize, like, this is not important, not relevant. This is the key to focus on. And yeah, I love CGM devices that helps you what's going on underneath your skin in response to
what's CGM?
Continuous glucose monitoring.
Okay.
It's wearing.
Can you explain what that is?
It's a little device that's the size of a coin, and you wear it on your triceps, and it helps you to understand how food and the choices that you're making affect your metabolism and your insulin and your blood sugar levels and how your insulin is responding to it. It suddenly makes so much sense, because most of us, when we're trying to lose weight, it's, the effect that you're trying to create is like, oh, what is it? Like the number on the scale that's going to change. It takes weeks to change that number, right? Or that like cholesterol levels that you're trying to change, like on your, blood work. Nothing trumps the 30 minutes after effect when you eat, and when you see like, whoa, my blood sugar's through the roof when I eat this dried mango, and then you realize maybe it's not a best option for you, or maybe you should be combining it with proteins and fats, and that loops you back in. Is like, I have to create difference. I have to like listen to Ella to create different results for my body, right? But it's not because Ella said so. It's because your body is responding differently, and you're listening and you're acting on that. And that's what I call life-changing results. Yeah. And the same thing for gut health. So many people come to me like that have been struggling for years with heartburn, skin issues, skin flare-ups, constipation, or skin rashes that you mentioned, like fatigue, or hormonal imbalances, or anxiety, depression. And when they look into like inflammation levels in their body and in their gut, and the chronic inflammation in your gut translates into neuroinflammation. That's what causes mental health issues, or digestion issues, or infection. Right. That's when they create the difference. Again, it wasn't because I said so. It's because we took time, energy, and money and resources to pay attention to your hardworking body. And that's when all those diagnostics, not just a spreadsheet, but actionable information that actually life-changing.
I love that what you're doing is like you're yes, you might have all the answers, and like, oh, X, Y, and Z foods are always going to like spike your blood sugar. And like, you could tell people that, you could tell every single one of the clients that come, but you're actually giving them the tools so that they can see for themselves.
Because I've been in this industry for so long, and I never wanted to be a food police for people. And it was never in that. I've tried every diet. I'm the type A personality. I don't need to be told. Like, I became a dietitian so I could play this food game on my terms. Because I hate all the diets. I don't need anyone to be telling me what to do. I'm the rebel. I'm the revolutionary, right? And those are the people that I work with. It's not enough to just have a spreadsheet. Like, you know how many arguments I deal with because of my executives that come to me like, I've been eating this way my whole life. I work hard all day. Give me a break. I deserve to have a go to town at my dinner, right? Or same thing with women. Like, I work so hard. I deserve all the whatever that is that I want. I was like, no, you're not a dog. You don't want to reward yourself with food. You want to differentiate pleasure with non-food behaviors. Totally. And the same way, like these arguments that I hear, like my mother's been making this, like I've been eating gluten my whole life. What are you telling me? I have to like eat less carbs, everything. And so when I have to deal with all these arguments and he's right. He's been eating this way his whole life. Why would he change now that he's been diagnosed with chronic condition, right? And that's when I realized that it's certain data points can create a difference more than.
But you have like the client has to see it themselves.
I learned that in longevity clinics when I was trying to explain this to people, and I was like, he's not going to do it just because I said so. He needs evidence.
Yeah.
And that's all I started tracking, and people's like, whoa, I'm doing this, I'm not eating carbs in an empty stomach anymore.
Right.
Or I'm prioritizing protein and fiber.
Right.
And my blood sugar's stable, and I feel leaner and more energetic, no energy crashes. Like, that makes sense. That, that's what creates.
And you feel different, and you see the reasons why. So how long do you have to wear this?
It comes with 14 days, 28 days to create a difference. Most people get addicted to them and love it.
And they don't want to take them out.
Keeps them accountable. Yeah. And now
I've seen them, they kind of target me sometimes on social, and I've been debating trying it. I started noticing, I used to be a big oat milk girl with my coffee, and I started noticing about 2 hours after I'd have my coffee with oat milk, I crashed. I could have gone back to sleep.
Oh.
I figured out, oh my God, there's so much sugar in oat milk. I had no idea.
I just posted on social media about milk.
I didn't see it.
It was so conservative. It was like, milk is a complete food. Real cow's milk has protein, fats, and sugar. Yeah. Everything else, oat milk has none of that. It's just pure carbs. And the reason why the regular milk was created to balance out, added to coffee, is it balances out the acidity of it. Yeah. And the regular doesn't do it. It's just pure caffeine with carbs.
Yeah. So being someone with celiacs, I also struggle with lactose intolerance. So I have to be careful with the amount of dairy that I consume, because it causes other stomach issues.
Let me catch you on something. You said you were lactose intolerant.
Yeah.
You know what's lactose? It's a carbohydrate found in milk. Yeah. Do you know what whey and casein? That's protein in milk. So if you're lactose intolerant, you're not intolerant to proteins. Unless you're diagnosed with milk proteins intolerance. I
would get cystic acne.
No, dairy proteins are not for everyone. That's
when I would have whey protein.
For sure. But it has nothing to do with lactose. Those are two different animals.
I had no idea.
Yes. So the food sensitivities and intolerances, they are triggered by proteins only. And when we test up to 240 different foods, but only protein containing foods. So lactose is a sugar.
Okay.
That's a different fermentation process, different enzymes required for those two processes.
And that's why lactate or something similar works.
Doesn't get digested. It gets fermented in your stomach. Versus proteins, they could trigger autoimmune conditions.
So it's not unsurprising that I would have this.
That's why I have a whole video. I'll send it to you on milk.
Interesting.
Yeah, so there's different ways.
This video.
So it's the cow's milk. Then it's different types of. There's A2 cow's milk that's easier tolerated by most people. It's different types of proteins, the casein and whey. And then there's goats and sheep's milk products, which are incredible. They're anti-inflammatory. They're easier tolerated by most people. And then soy milk, because it's nutritionally dense. It's got proteins, fats, and carbohydrates. It's almost identical profile to cow's milk, but yes, it's got bad reputation. So you only want to choose those from organic, from non-GMO farms. Yeah. And it's hard to find here. And then only after that, I recommend cashew milk, macadamia milk, because it's got healthy fats, or coconut milk.
Okay. I actually like macadamia nut milk a lot.
Yes, me too.
I first learned about it when I was in Hawaii in the pandemic, because they grow so many macadamia nuts out there. So
healthy fats, it's one of the most
macadamia nuts are good. Yes. And it tastes it's a nice taste in coffee.
I'm currently obsessed with my cashew milk.
You're obsessed.
So easy to.
You're gonna have to come over and try
your cashew. Oh my God, I just made a video. I was like,
You do a latte? Cashew milk latte?
Cappuccinos.
Cappuccino.
Yes.
I'm gonna have to come over.
And it tastes so good. And I add proteins and creatine.
Yeah.
It's like, what? It's like superfood coffee.
Yeah. Okay, so let's talk about airport restaurant orders. So if you're somebody that's a high performer, you're going to a lot of work dinners, you're traveling a lot, you don't have a lot of control over what you're actually able to consume. What is kind of your go-to in that setting?
Look, you have to learn to have control over certain things, right? So my rule is 80-20. If at your house, you eat healthy and you don't bring any junk foods in your house, so 80% of the time, if that is the ratio for you, could be less. For me, it is. I eat clean. I'm not afraid of airport foods. I'm not afraid of life or food choices that are less healthier. 20% of the time. It's not what you do once in a while that kills you. It's what you do every day, day after day. At my house, I only use organic vegetables, and I eat a lot of proteins, a lot of fish and chicken and poultry, right? Now, when you're out, make sure you prioritize healthy fibers. Make sure you ask and you choose those restaurants that are now finally are emphasizing quality. Sometimes it's grass-fed or from local, if you're in Colorado somewhere, local farms, you choose those local produce. It's either like local trout, fish, or local lamb from local farms. That's what you want to emphasize instead of something that's been imported over entire world, across the world. And for freshness, and same thing for vegetables. That's what you want to emphasize. And that's the rest is easy. Most good restaurants, their cooking techniques are great, except for they add a lot of butter. And you might want to hold off of that. Less oil, ask for less oil, or ask for healthy desserts, and that's how you balance it out.
Yeah.
And same thing with choice. It depends if we're talking about like weight loss. Make one choice of carbohydrates. It's either bread basket or pasta or dessert. One of those. If you're
not all of them,
not all three. Yeah, you have to make one choice. You deserve to eat carbs, but you just want not all three. Right. And if you're choosing desserts, if you're choosing berries for desserts, like I do, then I eat some bread at good restaurants.
Yeah, no, I love that. What about like caffeine timing? Do you have a cutoff time?
Yeah, afternoon, you want to avoid it. You'd rather take a dance break in the afternoon if you're feeling energy crash. It's because you've been sitting for too long. You want to hydrate and you want to blast some, I don't know, Jennifer Lopez, as you said, and dance your heart out. And that's going to give you more energy than another espresso.
Yeah, I love that. What about alcohol? What are your thoughts on like alcohol boundaries and like how many days a week?
Honestly, breath work is going to help you to release tension a lot better than alcohol. From the scientific evidence, red wine has a little bit of health effects, but we don't recommend it to those who are not drinking. Ideally, if you want to stay young without all the expensive biohacking devices, you want to avoid alcohol because it puts too much pressure on your heart rate variability and the way your heart works throughout the night. It's too much burden. Yeah. The way, like, I know too much about ethanol crossing the blood-brain barrier and damaging your brain cells. I worked with neuroscientists. So for me, it's not worth it. For me, I treat wine as food. As if it's part of the food experience. If you're in Tuscany in Italy, red wine is a must, right? Or if you're in France with oysters, champagne is a must. But on its own, you want to avoid drinking it on an empty stomach so you never see me at the bar. And if you are drinking it, make sure you have a glass of water next to it. Very often you're feeling dehydrated. You don't need another sip. You want more water. And the way I drink wine, if you ever see me, my friends, they call me fake drinker. I never finish one glass. Like I drink it, but for me, good wine is like a hot sauce. You just need a little bit, like to wash down. Like I said, like oysters or steak, whatever you're eating. But you never want to finish the glass. It's just there. Like, unless you're like, I don't know, super enjoying it. One glass for a woman, maybe like twice a week. That's my top. Yeah. But there's no health benefits.
The other thing that's nice if you're not drinking a lot is you have such a low tolerance that like half a glass of wine is more than enough if you're not really consuming.
And that's if you have like, I deal with arguments all the time. People are watching and you're like, oh my God, it helps me to unwind, it helps me to relax. You're smart enough and there's enough content right now to find non-food or non-alcohol related ways to release tension, take up some salt bath, do the breath work, do another 2-hour-long massage is my guilty pleasure. I've been having massage once a week my whole life.
I'm on that too.
I became a massage therapist when I was 18 years old. I'm licensed. I know how to give good massage. Never done any massages to anyone, but I know what a good massage is supposed to be like. So for me, it's a must.
Yeah.
And especially for lymphatic drainage, like when I've had episodes, like when I moved to Florida and I haven't been able to find, for me, it's about a person and his hands and his energy more than a place. And I haven't been able to find my person. I would go months without massage and that would give me like lymphatic system issues. Like I would have cysts in my breast and my doctor would be like, oh, we need to do this drainage procedure. You might have this, you might have that. I'm like, hold off. And then I go and I schedule my twice a week massage and my lymphs, okay, that's a lymphatic support. You keep moving. Everything just goes away. He's like, oh, I don't know how you got rid of it. I was like,
I do. Because you're your own best doctor.
Thank you. Yes. And I treat my body with so much, it's a hard working machine that we have in our hands. And when you take care of things, they last.
Yeah. But I think once, you're saying, once you start paying attention to all of these little signals and all these little biomarkers.
When your body's whispering and you're listening.
And you're listening.
Yes.
You have to be.
Don't wait until it starts screaming.
Yeah. And that's unfortunately, that's your journey. That was my journey, is our bodies got to a point where they were literally broken, that it prompted you to.
There's a silver lining in all of this. I always so many patients end up in my office why me? Why am I so sensitive? And I always try to find a bigger purpose in this. Look, don't think that this is just about you. Think how many people you can help. That's why even gut brain method right now, it says to heal yourself, your family, and help others.
Yes.
It's never about you. If you're a very sensitive person, that's what most people with gut health issues are, sensitive individuals. If you find yourself bottling up some emotions and not able to express them, you're going to end up having
gut issues. Yeah.
Exactly. Yes.
Yeah.
And some people, especially men, they could live their whole life being very, concealing their emotions and being very tough. But women, especially, that's when we realize that you want to be more feminine and more vulnerable and able to communicate emotions and go with that. You'll be healthier with that if you just let the energy through you instead of trying to control it and hold on.
Yeah.
That's when you get tension in your body.
Yes.
That's when you get posture issues because of all the tense muscles, and then the GI issues. It all comes from that, and all the GI flare-ups. They all come from unexpressed emotions and stress that you.
So I actually had this situation. I had a situation where I had a lot of personal stuff going on, and I got a rash on my body. It started as a little patch on the middle of my stomach, and within a week I had a rash all over my body, and it ended up being brought on. It was brought on by stress. There were some I said, some personal issues I was dealing with that were really intense, but I had never seen something manifest so quickly in my body. That was it was just such a strong reaction. It was very eye-opening.
And I love when the A-type people, especially even scientists, are connecting it. Stress is what nobody's talking about in the longevity industry right now. And that's why I had to start the gut brain method, because mindfulness is a big pillar of it. And that's what I was we have to teach, and everyone needs to have it in their toolkit to communicate it to their patients. My protocols, all my follow-up notes, there's this protocol for microbiome, for dysbiosis, for maldigestion. And there's always a section for lifestyle where I talk about acupuncture, Epsom salt baths, exercise, breath work. And I was it's a must to give it to the people.
Yeah.
At least give it to them. Give them a chance. What they do with that, some people will change their lives based on the breath work and stuff. Some people, they'll wait maybe another year, and then they'll be you know what? Someone already told me that, and they hear it someplace else. But that's what I want all of the healthcare providers to have in their tool.
Right. So when you do testing on patients or in the programs that you teach, do you guys are you looking at hormones as well? Are you looking at cortisol levels?
Yes. Yeah. Morning cortisol. It's a Dutch test that we use.
Okay.
Saliva and dried urine. And that not only measures cortisol, but also the, women's hormones throughout the cycle. I'm not a specialist, but I just recorded a big lecture for gut brain method with Dutch testing.
Okay.
It's a lecture on how your gut is related to your hormones. How there's a certain enzymes, beta-glucuronidase, in your gut, where your gut is detoxifying estrogen. And if you don't have enough of it, or too much of it, estrogen gets repurposed into your system. And what happens? You turn into an estrogen monster. Do you know that diagnosis?
What is that?
It's PMS. Is when you get tender breasts, when you get mood changes, when you get all puffy and swollen and bloated. That's too much.
The things we don't want.
That means you're not detoxifying estrogen very well, and it becomes very apparent. With PMS, you kind of manage, and it's became a new trend to have a PMS, which is fine. But during your perimenopause or menopause, when the hormones start to slow down, that's when that becomes very apparent, and that's when people start supplementing with calcium glucuronidase to help that enzymes to detoxify estrogen naturally.
That's so interesting. I'm curious.
It starts in your gut.
It starts in your gut. And I'm thinking, through our conversation, like, are you seeing a correlation with people having really high cortisol levels and having like these gut issues related to like high stress work environments or like, things going on in your personal life that would contribute to just not really being.
We're not diagnosing like that. Right now, our focus is like neuroscience and gut health alone.
Yeah.
Hormones is like a big aspect to it that we don't do. But it is an option. Like it's part of my books. It's everywhere, but it's not my specialty.
Yeah. No, I'm just curious because I also like, I don't know, I think about a lot like women being like in your feminine energy versus being in your masculine energy. And like, how do you get, like, for me, I'm always trying to get back to being in my feminine energy and in the most. And when you are a perfectionist and an overachiever and an entrepreneur, like it's very easy to like skew it a little bit too far into like the masculine energy. And I've never done, not recently anyway, hormone testing, but it's curious to think about like the relationship.
I call it the human being versus the human doing, right? So my ratio is from 9 a.m. until about like maybe 2, maximum 3 p.m. I'm in my human doing, like that. I'm very masculine, very go. As soon as like lunchtime comes, that's when because I make my own lunch because I work from home. And that's after that, it's almost like, I don't want to be looking at the screen anymore. I don't want to be bossing around anyone anymore. I want to be meditating, cooking, taking care of my family, and being in my flow. So with age, yes, I always tell you, if someone who's young looking at us right now, as you get older, you work less and you earn more. At the beginning, when we're younger, yes, we're able to balance it out differently, but it's important. I think for all of us, psychologically speaking, we all have a masculine and a feminine side inside of us. Yeah. And it's important how we switch, the brake and gas. Like, how do you do this? And everyone finds their own balance. And for me, that's my balance. Like morning is for me to be masculine. Afternoon is like a no-go. Like I don't look at screens after 4 o'clock. And if I do, it's a bad day. It means like
no, I like that. All right. So one more question, and then we're going to move into our lightning round. So the next question for you is, what is one longevity myth that you wish you could retire forever, and what actually sticks?
Oh God. It's all of the biohacking devices. There's no evidence, and then now they're jumping into longevity. They call them longevity. They're not. They're all cosmetics, and they're all like a feel good kind of thing, and it's great. But there's fundamentals like a breathwork, which is cheap and effective. I always say, like, if we were to live on an island, like the blue zones, like when people live on the island where there's no Amazon delivery, no Whole Foods delivery,
they have to cook.
The answer, right? For your glow, you need to sleep well. You need to be loading up on fiber and antioxidants and proteins. For your grounding, you want to be at the beach or hugging a tree, forest bathing. That's your grounding. That's what real people need. Real nature, real connection. Not another device that flags into electricity and just gives you this, like, you're alone, you're on your own, trying to do something on yourself. No, just go hug a tree and go hug a real human and connect really. Some of the biggest Harvard studies saying, like, the purpose of our life is through connections. The only, like, the happiness that is going to be felt by you is the one that by connecting with other people in the long term. Yeah. At first, you might be feeling like all these devices is what's going to bring you joy and happiness. No, for longevity, I think that's what everyone needs to figure out, the basics. And I would rather people go outside more often for walks or to meet people and to become friends with their neighbors instead of buying another device.
Right. I love that. All right. Lightning round, this or that.
Let's do it.
And if you want to give like some words on why, we would love to hear it. All right. Protein first or coffee first?
Protein and fiber at every meal makes losing weight no big deal. And then coffee after meal only, especially for sensitive individuals. You don't want to have acidic, caffeine-rich meal. Same thing with alcohol, only after protein and fiber or fats.
Okay. So what are you eating for breakfast?
Eggs, Smoked salmon. I just got a huge delivery from Seatopia. I love their quality. I eat a lot of like fatty fish, avocado, lots of healthy fats, and then I take my vitamin D, which is fat soluble vitamin, only gets absorbed to get better with fats. When I'm PMSing and I'm craving carbs, that's when I would have like oatmeal with peanut butter and yogurt. Yeah.
Creatine or collagen?
Definitely collagen. It's my basic. I've been taking it for years and recommending it for years for all things joints, hair, and healthy gut. Creatine is the new crave, and I'm kind of like jumping on a wagon with everyone else, but I'm very careful. Like, you know, it makes you puffy and bloated. So it's very personalized approach. You want to start with 5 grams. So it's not I currently use it like in my coffee a little bit, but I put like 1 scoop in the entire milk jar that I create. So I don't take it regularly. My smoothies I do, but I only use smoothies like once or twice a week.
Okay.
So yeah, it's not my everyday thing.
Okay. Intermittent fasting or protein forward morning meal?
Intermittent fasting is like the easiest thing. When the sun goes down, everything in nature starts to slow down and prepare for sleep. That's what you want to be doing. Ideally, you want to stop eating after the sun goes down. I mean, in the winter time, it's okay because the days are short, but ideally you want to avoid eating 3 or 4 hours before going to sleep. This way you build on night sleeping, night fast. So you sleep for 7 to 8 hours and you avoid eating. That's your 12 hours of fast. And that's for women is perfect combination. If you want to wake up feeling less bloated with slim waistline, full of energy, you want to wake up hungry and fasted.
And I think you sleep better too, right?
That's right.
Your body's not working to digest.
It helps your HRV. Yeah, that's for me is for women. It's the easiest way to lose weight.
Matcha or coffee?
Both are great in terms of antioxidants. There's so much scientific evidence on both sides. Matcha tends to be less producing like the less jittery effect, more gentle caffeine. But both can interact with iron absorption. So there's a thing right now that you want to be taking both of them outside of food intake, 2 hours after you're eating your food. Both are great with in terms of antioxidants, but matcha is also less acidic.
I love both. I feel like I get so much less jittery with matcha.
Yeah, for sure.
I feel like a calm.
Because it's less acidic and it doesn't have the same amount. It's a little bit less caffeine as well.
Yeah. Magnesium glycinate or melatonin?
Definitely magnesium. Don't recommend melatonin to everyone because it's a hormone. It's basically using crutches, and it gets it's not like addictive, but in a way, it's you're not supporting your own melatonin production. And if you're older or you're traveling a lot for jet lag, that's like a hardcore support, yes. But if you're young, no, you don't want to be taking other hormones. You want to support your natural melatonin production by not staring at the screens, avoiding blue light, and getting ready for bed.
Yeah. Red light therapy or morning sunlight? I think I know the answer.
Morning sunlight. Yes, you want to wake up at sunrise. I mean, red light therapy has a lot of science behind it, but for me, it's like it's not moving the needle.
Yeah. Probiotic pills or fermented foods?
Ooh. Both. Fermented foods, yes, 1 spoon a day as a medicine for sure. But when you travel and we're not eating as healthy, it happens to all of us when we're on vacation or going through periods when we're overly stressed out and don't eat enough fiber. Yes, probiotic could help as well, especially when someone's going through like candida overgrowth or like some dysbiosis. I use probiotics strategically. I have a lot of different formulas at home, and I'm very careful so that I know like when I eat a lot of fiber, I don't take probiotics. So you want to use supplements as an addition to your food intake.
Okay. And what is like your go-to fermented food?
Sauerkraut, yogurt, the best fermented dairy, kimchi, kombucha. I make my own kombucha at home, fermented tea. Those are pickles.
How many times a week are you having fermented food?
Try to do it every day.
Yeah. Cold plunge or sauna?
Sauna is more gentle, especially for women. I love the contrast, But I am very careful in my protocol for cold plunge. I only do what feels good. And people stare at me at the gym like, what are you doing? I'm like, I just do my own thing. I go in for like maybe 10 seconds and then I get out.
Yeah.
And then when it feels better, I go maybe more for like 40 seconds.
Yeah.
Right. And I was like, I don't care who's doing what. Don't give me any peer pressure.
Yeah.
And then only after that, you might want to do a minute, but I rarely do more than a minute. And I don't even do cold plunges anymore. I do like cold showers.
Yeah.
I just do what feels good. For women, you want to push yourself outside of the comfort zone a little bit because it gives you this like toughness, almost like it's called healthy stress.
And like it's mental too, right? Like
yes, but you want to be careful. You don't want to do anything freezing with ice. It's just there's so much evidence now that it's like not producing the same effect for women as it is for men. That
interesting.
Yeah, but sauna is the best way to detoxify and support your lymphatic system through detoxifying through skin. And I definitely am a big fan.
Do you have an opinion, infrared sauna or traditional sauna? Or it's kind of the same?
They're both great because you get to sweat. And there's definitely more research on infrared sauna because there's a lot more marketing and business plan behind it. I am generally a fan of traditional sauna.
Yeah.
I grew up like that. My grandparents are using it, and the entire like Eastern European culture is on it, like with Norwegians, and that's what for me is the real deal.
Yeah, I feel like that's like a big difference between America and Europe with the saunas. Europe is very much like, we're good with our
for them it's traditions, it's generations. It's almost like we do this, we like our children are doing it from when they versus here it's a trend.
Daily,
it's a trend versus here it's like, oh, someone invested money into the research to prove, and then infrared sauna is the thing. So there's, you know, American culture is very like it's a young country, right? So the archetype here is that our teenagers, so they're learning through these things versus like Europeans, like a wise old man. We do this because our ancestors are doing it, right? And okay, great, your science is catching up, but it doesn't matter. We've been doing it for years.
Okay, GLP-1s or strength training and diet?
Definitely strength training and diet. And if you are someone who's struggling to get results, GLP-1 definitely produces success. It works. And sometimes if you're diabetic or if you have metabolic imbalances, you know, it's granted and it's warranted that you would get GLP-1s. But I always tell them, like, even before or after you use them, you'll have to end up in my office or talking to someone like me to fall in love with the right foods, because what GLP-1 does, and I've been working with GLP-1s for like 15 years, way before it became popular. And so many of my clients, like the doctors that I've been working with, they've been prescribing it to young population groups, like young children in their early 20s been on GLP-1s, and they'll be like, oh, I'm not hungry all day, and then I just eat a muffin. That's one way to lose weight, right? Because you're not hungry. And guess what? You're still losing weight. You're still producing results. But that's what we don't want to happen. That's whether like you want to use GLP-1 in a very educational way. That you're supporting your metabolic health, and weight loss is not the only goal that you're pursuing. You're pursuing a long-term health. And muffins is not going to give it to you. You want to be loading up on proteins and fibers to support your mitochondria and your muscle mass and the glow and from inside out.
And then that way you're like building a sustainable plan so that you're not on a GLP-1.
And strength training, the best way to lose fat is to build muscle mass. Your muscle mass is the most metabolically active tissue. It burns more calories than anything else. The more muscle you have, the more calories you're burning naturally.
NAD or NMN capsules?
NMN is a precursor of NAD. You want to support natural production of NAD, and that's what I recommend. And also NR.
What is NR?
Oh, it's a different structural molecule. I'm not a scientist on it, but it's just it's the same as NMN.
Similar principle. Okay. All right. Well, that was our lightning round. Thank you so much for coming on the show today. This was your Gut Brain Longevity Starter Pack, simple levers you can use. And thank you, Ella, so much for coming on the show. Where can everybody find you? Where can they find your book?
Visit gutbrainmethod.com. That's where you'll find everything about the course. If you want to become an expert yourself, it only takes 9 weeks. Or if you want to become a private client, or the easiest way is to buy my book. Everything's there. There's a whole chapter on female cycle and hormones, how to feed your hormones, whole chapter on gut health. And actually, the first chapter of this book is an emotional reset and the emotions behind cravings and overeating and overindulgence. Or there's even a few paragraphs on emotions behind restrictive dieting, and that's the control that we're trying to gain. There's all these carnivores and different diets that are promoting, like they're almost like afraid of foods, like only eat this, don't eat anything else. It's like, oh my god, you're creating all this unnecessary tension that we don't need in our body.
You don't need tension,
right? You don't want to be afraid of food or life. You want to figure out of like a sustainable relationship with your nourishment, so you can achieve all those ambitious dreams that you have.
Thanks so much for coming on the show.
Thank you for having me.
All right, guys, that is Stacked, the show that helps you become your own best asset. That's a wrap on this episode of Stacked. If this one added value, share it with someone who's ready to level up their financial life. Subscribe so you never miss an episode. And if you're feeling generous, leave a rating and review. It helps us keep the show going and reach more people who are serious about becoming their own best asset. You can subscribe to our newsletter at www.stackedassets.co for weekly intel on Bitcoin markets, business, and living well. Follow along on socials at Stacked Assets or my personal at Emily Dempsey for more on Bitcoin business and building the life you actually want. I'll see you next week. Stay stacked.